Java students, I thought we'd take a few minutes and talk about some strategies for your bank account graphical user interface programming assignment. And I have up here on the screen the end result that you're working towards. And let's just look and see how it works. Got an account balance, a status area about your account, 2 buttons, and the amount that you get to input that you want to have deposited and withdrawn from the account. Let's just see how it works. If I click the deposit button, it adds $20. If I click the withdraw button, it deletes the amount that's in this deposit withdraw box. If I go negative, then my account status changes to overdrawn. Once I become 0 or greater, then the account status goes to 0. So you were given in this assignment 2 files, bank account, because we've created a bank account object whose balance we're keeping track of. And you were given the bank GUI, which actually creates the frame. So what you had to do was you need to create bankpanel.java, which is everything that's in this turquoise area. And so when we look at it, we've got a couple labels, looks like 3 labels, 3 text fields, and 2 buttons. So let's think about what we have to do inside our bank panel class. And this assignment is going to look a lot like what we did in class with the car counter. So remember, the first thing we did inside car counter panel was we declared all our instance variables. So that's a good idea. That's what you need to do first in this assignment too. So your instance variables, can't type, are really your components on the panel, or sometimes we call those widgets, those objects. So you've got a series of J labels. You've got a series, maybe let's give an example here. An example would be a declaration like this. So we declare that would be this balance label here. We've got a series of J text fields. Maybe I'll put the example underneath so we can see. There's an example. You've got some J text fields. So here's an example of one possible declaration. And let's call it balance field. That would be the variable that's assigned to this text field right here. You've got a series of J buttons. And one possible declaration might look like this. So let's call this a deposit button. And then you're going to have several more. You're going to have several more declarations. So you'll have a couple different labels, you'll have a couple different text fields, and another button. So those are instant. Several more declarations for, maybe I'll put 4 components. And then you need a declaration for your bank account, because what's sitting behind this is a bank account object. So we'll call it my account. We've done that before. So that's the first thing you're doing, is setting your instance variables. Then the next thing you want to do inside bank panel is you're going to create your constructor. And inside your constructor, you create all of the components that you need on your panel. Those are also objects. And some of those commands might look like this if I just show you these 3 examples up here. So you might have a statement that looked like this. And inside that J label, we want to say account balance. And if we wanted to create a field, we're just looking at a couple of these examples. And we'll make it a width of, I don't know, 5. We can go ahead and change that later on if we want. And let's look at our one button. and we want it to say deposit. Okay, and with the button, remember you also have to register that. So after you create any buttons, you're also going to want to add this registration line of code so that the event of clicking on that button gets recognized. And that's a couple examples. You're going to have to do that for the other components also. And then the next thing you want to do inside your constructor is go ahead and add the components to the panel. Remember, order is important. So based on this example here, we'd want to add our balance label, because that's this right here. And then it looks like we want to add the balance field, etc., blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then it looks like we're going to add the deposit button, and so on and so forth. So you're going to add all the components. Okay, so you got your constructor. That's just a general outline of the constructor. Then the next thing that you've got to have inside your J panel is the button listener class. It's that inner class that we put inside there, and you can look at the structure of our example, because it has to have an action performed method. So inside this method, that's where everything happens when the buttons get pressed. So what do we want to do first? Remember, we want to get this here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get the amount that is going to be deposited or withdrawn. So you're going to get it from here. Okay, and so there's an example, or there's some information about that on the assignment. So you're going to use a get text to get this information. Once you've got that amount, then now you're going to say, hey, if the deposit button was clicked, whoop, I can't spell, then deposit the amount into my account, because that's your bank account object. And you know what that statement looks like. You've done that a lot. My account, deposit, whoop, an amount. But if the other button has been clicked, else, if the withdraw button is clicked, then you're going to withdraw the amount from the my account bank account object, and that statement might look like this. Remember, this is a bank account object because you've already created it up here. One of the first things you did was you created my account. Oh, you know what we forgot? We got to do this first. We didn't create all of our components. I never actually created my bank account. So let's do that. So we want to say bank account. Whoop. My account equals new bank account. And let's just call the default constructor. So that sets up our object. I'm glad we caught that. Okay, so once you've withdrawn or deposited, then you got to display my account's new balance. And you're going to put it right here. You're going to display it right there. And so how do you get the balance? You can get the balance by using the get balance method from bank account, and you're going to put that value inside this text field with a set text command. Okay, then once you've done that, then you're going to decide on what are you going to display in the account status. So if the balance, well, let me write it like this. If my account's balance is negative, then display overdrawn. Else display okay. And really, that's it. That's all there is inside this action performed. So the tricky part is figuring out, how do you grab this piece of information right here? How do you get the amount that's going to be deposited or withdrawn? And you're going to need to use that get text command. So let's just work up the command for that so we can take a look at it. And I happened, if you called that field amount field, let's say we called this text field amount field. So I could create a variable called amount, and let me build this up for you. And if that is the name of this field is amount field, I need to get the text that's sitting in that field. In this case, it's a 20, but it's not going to be returned as a 20 as a number. It's going to be returned as a string, unfortunately. And we want to put it into a variable that's a double. So we've got to convert that to a double. So the way we do that is with the wrapper class double, and we call the method called Parse Double. Okay, so that'll grab you the amount. Then once you've got the amount, you can deposit it, you can display it. Oh, you don't want to display the amount. Sorry about that. You want to display the new balance. So once you get the balance, you can put that in a variable and then display it up here with the set text. So the set text would be something similar. Once you get the balance, and then you wanted to set the text, you could create another variable maybe here called balance. Whoop. And you're going to get it from here, and then you've got to display that into this field right here. And I think we called that field the balance field. So balance field dot set text, and now we're going to put balance in there, but we got a problem because balance is a number and set text needs a string. So we have to use the wrapper class again and say, okay, convert this number to a string for me and display it. Okay, so really that's kind of that's the wrap up of what you need to do. Make sure you're using the bank GUI that creates the frame. Let's take a look at that real quickly. Remember, bank GUI is going to create your frame, and then it's going to place your customized bank panel, which you're going to be writing, inside the frame, and that's all of this right here. So you've been given this piece of code. You don't have to reinvent the wheel there. I've also given you a basic bank account that you can use, or you could use your own, and you'll be working up bank panel. Okay, and that's just the pseudocode for it. So hopefully that helps you out, and we'll see you in class.